than I. But honestly, with the way that the offense looked last week, I expect more of the same. A lot of Dalvin Cook, and I expect him to get spelled with Alex Madison, and they'll probably do that quite a bit once again.
Yeah, I am certainly expecting that same attack. Although I will say, I think that passing attack could give us some trouble too. I think what's new and improved in Green Bay is the defense. At least for one game, our defensive line and linebackers played great. We had really sticky pass coverage. I think I'm optimistic that our secondary is as good as it's been in a long, long time. But like I mentioned, still, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, that might be the best duo that we face this year. So they're going to need to be pretty sticky. Stopping the run, though, is going to be the first order of business. And I think that is going to fall to basically the strength of our defense, which is the defensive line and our linebacking crew. That front seven for Green Bay is no joke. Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, Kenny Clark, Blake Martinez, those are all going to be really important features to stopping Minnesota from doing what they did last week. And I think if we can find a way to get them into third and medium and really put the ball in Kirk's hands, we're going to be able to unleash a little bit of that pass rush that we saw. And if we can be as smothering with our pass rush as we were against Chicago, that's going to be a problem for Minnesota. Quite frankly, I would say that the Chicago offensive line, I felt like they didn't really play to their potential. I think that's a better unit than we saw last week. But I don't think that Minnesota's offensive line is as good as Chicago's by and large. So part of me expects to see kind of a similar defensive situation for Green Bay. How about what are your thoughts on the Minnesota defense? That side of the ball's no joke either.
Yeah, that's the part that's really attractive about this team. Don't get me wrong, Minnesota has a ton of weapons on offense, but the thing that's really the straw that's really going to stir the drink, so to speak, is definitely this defense. And that's what they want to do. They want to slow the game down by running the ball so they can put their defense on the field that they apparently trust more than their $83 million quarterback. So it's definitely interesting dynamic going back to, their strength of the defense. But I really felt like last year the defense kind of underperformed. And speaking of underperforming, I think, you mentioned that Chicago's offensive line was probably a little bit better than we saw in the season opener. I think the same can be said for Green Bay as well. So if David Bakhtiari can kind of have a better performance than he did there on the Thursday night game, I think that's definitely going to be something that's going to need to happen because having Everson Griffin and Danielle Hunter and those guys, they're just animals and they have a great pass rush as well. But hey, on your guys' side of the ball, you guys signed the Smith brothers, very impressive, aggressive free agent signings. And, they really showed out in the first game as well. So, now it's going to be a really defensive game. I think if there is any passing touchdowns to be had, it's probably going to be from Aaron Rodgers, but we'll see because the secondary was not only were they good, but this Harris, I think he was like number 41 for Minnesota. He had like 2 picks and a fumble recovery. Probably going to be NFC Defensive Player of the Week if I had to guess. Which guy I didn't even hear about this guy in preseason. Don't know who he is, where he came from. Had a phenomenal game, and so they just add that to this stacked defense that they already have. So very, very interesting, man. It's going to be a crazy defensive battle, I think.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. You're right. The offense did not look good by any stretch of the imagination last week against Chicago. And man, I think between Chicago's defense and Minnesota's defense, maybe the tougher test is Chicago in Soldier Field. But playing Minnesota's defense, man, they give me nightmares too. the running game has got to be a little bit better for Green Bay than it was last week, and I think that's still going to be really tough sledding. Aaron Jones left the game a little banged up, and no word yet on kind of what his situation is. I haven't heard anything too doomsday, so I'm sort of expecting he'll start for us. We did mix in a healthy amount of Jamal Williams, who was really underwhelming. He had something like a 1.8 yards per carry average last week. So, better days are ahead for him, but he's still not the dynamic running back that we have in our backfield. He's really more of a kind of a keep him in to chip on some speed rushers. You talked a little bit about the tackle play, and I actually thought the tackles, aside from a couple holding penalties on Bakhtiari, I thought the tackles actually played all right last week. It was really the guards that struggled. That Roy Robertson Harris from Chicago and Akeem Hicks really kind of wrecked our first half. And I think we're going to need that position to play better. I think if we can get similar play out of our tackles, I think it's still not going to be fun, but I think we can survive at least. In the passing game, I think what was really encouraging was that Aaron Rodgers played within the structure of the offense more than I've seen him play for the last couple of years. Really saw him under center a little bit more, and he'd get the ball out on time and in rhythm. The offense just looks better. There's more, like I said, there's more rhythm to it. It's really hard to try to maintain an offense when you're doing backyard football all the time. So that was really encouraging to me, and in part because I think it speaks to LaFleur kind of being able to corral Aaron Rodgers a little bit, or maybe it's Aaron Rodgers corralling Aaron Rodgers. In either case, it was encouraging. Passing-wise, I don't think that there's going to be a lot of hay to be made here. Devontae Adams, although I will say he has kind of had Xavier Rhodes' number in years past. So if I'm drawing up touchdown plays, they're probably going to him. But I think what's really probably more interesting for Green Bay, and this will probably shake out over the course of the season, is who's number 2 behind Adams. I think we saw last week that Marquez Valdez-Scantling got a little bit more attention, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit more from Geronimo Allison, or maybe even Trevor Davis this week. He kind of showed some crafty skills on his one reception last week. That just goes to show you how brutal last week was, that I can talk about Trevor Davis's one reception as being a bright spot on our offense. So, I don't know. You got a prediction?
Man, I'll go pretty low scoring on this one, and I'll say that it ends up like 17-20. But that might even be overshooting it there. We might have a couple defensive touchdowns, but either way, man, if you guys squeak this out and end up 2-0 after going up against 2 outstanding defenses. NFC North, by the way, just loaded with good defenses this year. I think that's going to really be the theme of the division. But I'm going to go for something low scoring like that, and not looking forward to when my Lions have to play these 2 teams back to back either.
Yeah, definitely not. That Lions defense is no joke either. In terms of this game, though, I think I like that Green Bay. It's a home game, and we've got an extra couple days to prep. We got to watch firsthand the Vikings play Atlanta without really having any other distractions. So I do think that we'll see a little bit more offensive, I won't say fireworks, but a little more offensive production this week. We have a whole game under our belt now within the new system, and actually, Rodgers has played a game now. He didn't play at all in the preseason, so I think that will help to kind of come into this game without a lot of rust. I think you're right. I think it's going to be low scoring. I'm going to take my Packers, something like 24-20, maybe 24-23. I do think it'll be a real close game, though.
Yeah, I'll go. Since I'm the Vikings super fan, I'll say Minnesota 20, Green Bay 17.
All right. Well, there you have it. 2 experts laying it all out there. Go Pack, go.
Skull.
Have a good one, Josh.
See ya.
Hey, thanks, Pod. This is Dr. Jones coming to you with what I think the Cardinals are going to be doing this weekend against the Ravens here in Baltimore. Honestly, I think it's going to be a pretty tough matchup for the Cardinals. I think you could probably all guess that coming in, SuperFan Nation, that this is going to be a tough game for us. Worst team in the league last year, coming off a tie against Detroit. The Ravens look like they are a juggernaut. Lamar Jackson throwing deep dimes to Hollywood Brown against Miami. Some things that I don't think everyone in SuperFan Nation is going to know, though, is that when the Cardinals travel to the East Coast, the 10 a.m. kickoff Phoenix time is a very tough thing for us. I don't think we've had much luck the past few years, in fact, the past few decades, being successful at a 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. So the NFL's already putting us at a disadvantage doing that. Of course, we don't know what Cliff and Kyler are going to do, but what we have seen in every game so far this year are very slow starts. Even in the preseason, Kyler, it took him 3 or 4 drives before he started kicking it into high gear. That can't happen this weekend. I think we are going to see our linebacker Hassan Reddick play most of the game, whereas last week he played 50 of 80-some snaps. Coming off a knee injury, didn't have any preseason practice time. I think that could help us. I still think we're going to have a ton of problems, though, with play-action passing from Jackson and the Ravens offense. Obviously, they've got a great offensive line. Lamar Jackson's a huge threat with his feet. I still don't feel totally confident that he's a great passer. When you play Miami, I think everyone's going to look much better than they actually are. I think our defense might be a little bit more competent, but when it comes to the jet sweep, those mesh concepts of the RPO offense, I think Lamar Jackson or Mark Ingram are going to get loose quite a few times. I think that could really hurt us. I think also another thing that's going to really hurt us, and fantasy guys, you better get ready for this. I think Mark Andrews is going to have another big day. We do not guard tight ends well historically. Hawkinson went off for like 130 and a touchdown last week. Mark Andrews had 100-something last week, and I can see that happening again. These short RPO concepts with play-action pass to the tight end, I think are going to kill the Cardinals. In fact, I think the Cardinals, the spread's like 13 right now. Vegas thinks the Ravens are just going to walk all over us. That might be the case. I'm looking at a score somewhere around 34-24, 34-17 as a final score for the Ravens. But all that's going to depend on how fast Kyler Murray gets off in the first quarter. If he can get off to a fast start and our defense can control the run game, I think we have a good chance of shocking the world and at least making this a very tight game into the fourth quarter. If we can come out and win this game, obviously our prospects go way up as the season progresses. I think that's going to make us a much more fun team to watch from a national perspective. Right now it's just Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury trying to get their feet underneath them. So with that being said, in the end, I think it's going to come down to Mark Andrews winning the game with Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram. And I think the short play-action pass to the tight end and to the running backs and to these short out routes to wide receivers are what's going to kill us. I'm not 100% confident that they're going to be throwing deep on us nearly as much as they did against Miami, especially with the volatility of Lamar Jackson. From an offensive perspective, Fitzgerald's going to be Fitz, the greatest football player on earth right now, in my opinion. Kyler Murray's going to continue to learn and progress in his role. This is going to be his first really insane road test in a home opener for the Ravens, so we'll see what that looks like. But in the end, I think the Cardinals are going to fall short. I think I'm going to be hoping that we cover the spread of 13. I'm hoping that it ends up 34-24, 31-24, with the possibility of it being 31-17, 31-10, something like that as a possibility if the Ravens defense really comes out and destroys us. If we shock the world, I'd put that at like 10-15%. I just don't see the Cardinals coming through on a 10 a.m. Pacific kickoff in a home opener for a team as solid as the Baltimore Ravens. So that's it. Back to you, Pod. Hopefully Don Ravens doesn't give me too much problems. The super fan for the Ravens, but I think it's going to be a solid test, and I think it's going to be a fun game to watch on the 1 p.m. time slot. Have a great day.
Hey guys, this is Don, the Ravens super fan, calling in for the Ravens versus the Cardinals at M&T Bank Stadium on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Should be an interesting game. Obviously, two former Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. The Cardinals with the impressive almost comeback last Sunday, really coming back in the fourth quarter. Was able to catch the end of that game. It was very interesting to watch. Kyler Murray, all the pundits,